Hey guys, so last week I ventured into San Francisco to try out a brand new feature in Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon, multiplayer. And I was able to fit in a little bit more of single player too, but we'll get back to that in a bit. Now before we start, please keep in mind I don't have footage or screenshots of everything I saw, so it may not match up perfectly. Alright, so let's go over the basics. Dark Moon's multiplayer mode is actually called ScareScraper, for a reason that'll become evident in just a moment. The ScareScraper supports 1 to 4 players, so yes, you can play it alone, and it works both locally and online. And if you are playing local, it even supports single card play, though apparently with some restrictions which Nintendo hasn't yet gone into. The goal is to make it to the top of the skyscraper, ScareScraper, and you do this by working together to clear the entire place of ghosts 1 floor at a time. So to be clear, this is a cooperative and not a competitive focused affair, at least in the Hunter mode that I played. Now there are other modes available, but Nintendo wasn't yet talking about them. Now before the round begins, you're able to set a few ground rules, such as the overall difficulty as well as how many floors you want the tower to consist of. You can choose as few as 5 or as many as endless, which is quite a lot. Seeing as we didn't have an unlimited amount of time, we played a few 5-floor matches. So once you actually get into the match, the gameplay is actually pretty similar to the main adventure mode, in that you travel room to room clearing each one of ghosts. Now the ghosts aren't always easy to find, as they'll often hide somewhere in their room, though you might notice hints as to where they're hiding, like if you see a piece of furniture shaking for no apparent reason. What's cool is that each floor is mostly non-linear, so if you want to break off from the group and go do some exploring on your own, you totally can. And though the floors aren't huge, it can still be easy to get lost, especially since each one is randomly generated every time you play. But fortunately, the map on the touchscreen makes it easy to keep track of the level's floor plan, including the precise locations of your teammates, which rooms you have or haven't cleared, as well as any locked doors. Oh right, just like in the main game, you'll encounter the occasional locked door here as well, though you can of course find keys by properly scouring the rooms. So as I mentioned before, multiplayer stays pretty true to the main adventure, but there are some key differences. Overall, the room complexity is noticeably simpler in that there are fewer objects to interact with, as well as there being almost no puzzles to speak of. So this really places the emphasis on the combat or ghost capturing itself. And this is where proper teamwork comes into play. While at times it can be advantageous to split up, it's generally best to keep at least one partner nearby. Not only does it allow you to keep the ghosts off each other's backs, as well as making capturing individual ones faster, but it's also crucial in the event you fall victim to a ghostly prank, such as by having a large jar placed on your head, rendering you unable to do anything besides walk around helplessly, or coming upon a curse that periodically reverses your controls. Though hilariously, you can get rid of a curse if you manage to infect another player simply by touching them. It's pretty crazy to play a game of tag while battling a room full of ghosts. But ghosts aren't the only problem you'll be facing, as there's a time limit for each floor that demands that you keep moving. If you don't completely clear the floor in time, or if everyone on your team runs out of health, it's game over. Fortunately, you are able to revive fallen comrades simply by interacting with them. But ideally, it won't get to that point too often, especially since you can cry out for help using the control pad, which should be especially useful when playing online. Now if you can manage to clear the entire floor of ghosts, you'll have the chance to partake in the red coin challenge before moving on to the next floor. Basically, 4 coins will appear randomly around the level. If your team manages to collect them all, you'll have the chance to earn a bonus item that one of you will take to the next floor. The award is gifted randomly to those who actually located the red coins, and the more red coins an individual finds, the better their chances. These items can include such things as a 3x vacuum, greatly increasing your ability to capture ghosts, or the dark light visor that allows you to see invisible objects without having to use a special setting on your flashlight. And beyond the red coins, your group also gains experience between levels based on your performance, which can also unlock upgrades. So it's pretty clear that a lot of attention is put into the multiplayer mode, but I do have a couple of concerns. For one, while it's kind of hilarious to have everyone playing as Luigi, it also feels a little cheap. Could they really not get Mario or EGAD in there? What about Wario and Waluigi? But the bigger concern is the lack of enemy variety. Sure, there are a handful of ghost types, but that's basically it. And while I did encounter a non-ghost enemy a time or two, like a small spider, it was few and far between. But to help mix things up, you will encounter a boss every 5 floors as well as at the top of the tower, and they demand the full cooperation of your team if you want to stand a chance. Incidentally, our group didn't. Now although the mode we played was cooperative, we were ranked at the end of each round and given GoldenEye style awards. I kept seeming to get Leecher for some reason. Apparently I'm a point stealer, who knew? I totally knew. So all in all, the multiplayer mode is shaping up to be a fun diversion, but how long its appeal will last, I have no idea. Now I was able to spend a few minutes in the main adventure mode too, where I tackled Gloomy Mansion's boss in stage 6, which was a giant spider we've seen in some of the trailers. And he's just a short elevator ride away from ruining your day. The battle itself was heavily puzzle based, with me having to figure out how to ignite the spider's web at least 3 different times, using a different method for each one. Unfortunately, I can't provide specifics since Nintendo doesn't want us to reveal puzzle solutions, but what I can say is that the puzzles were integrated extremely well in the boss fight. I would place this one battle alone as being more puzzling and satisfying than any of the portrait ghosts in the original Luigi's Mansion. And that about wraps it up for our preview of Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon. Thanks for watching, and make sure to stay tuned to GameXplain.com for more on Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon and other things gaming too.